Alright, this is go Fortnight recap. Yes, go Fortnight recap 3, part 2 of Triangle. Thursday, 26th of the 2nd, or February 15, 2015. Firstly went homeroom, paid Mr. Sports money, continued to study for Geo Exam. Next was year assembly. Unfortunately, our year coordinator wasn't there, so we had the assistant year coordinator. She discussed the Duke of Ed, building student-teacher relationships, discussing building student-teacher relationships, problems with clothing like bracelets, rings, earrings, and socks. Socks. I had double timber with the sub-teacher in the other workshop. Again, we had to create a rebate joint by using a pencil, ruler, tri-square, tenon saw, and chisel and wooden mallet. On the benches using scrap wood. For the second half, we had to create a crossed halving joint using 2 new pairs of wood with a marking gauge, pencil, tenon saw, chisel, and wooden mallet. I only made it up to sawing the cross halving joint with the timber to start chiseling with the wooden mallet. However, I injured myself when I was sawing my timber, and the blade became crooked, my thumb here, yeah, and it was the table was unstable, so I was like this, yeah. This is like angled perspective from the side. Right, it gets crooked. Started bleeding everywhere. And then like I was like asking, I was like screaming. I was like, oh holy shit! I was like, oh, your eyes are bleeding. Like oh shit, all over the place. And then I was like, this to Nathan. Hey, Nathan, you got a band-aid, bro? I'm like, oh, go ask sir. So I did. I asked sir. I was like, oh sir, you got a band-aid? Oh, how big is the injury? I was like, just minor. It's just a little cut. Like, just go wash it. I was like, where? In the corner. Like, oh, just over there. Oh, alright. Washed it. It was good, but it's still bleeding so much. Like even when sir covered it, it was still bleeding until at one point I just like stopped it. Like, oh, there you go. Put the band-aid. You're good. What happened? I was like, oh, I just got killed. So it's alright. Won't happen again. Anyways, I was like, and thing, we call it the bell rang. So we started packing up. We packed up first, and then the bell rang. We were still packing up, and then sir dismissed us about halfway, like 15 or 30 seconds after the bell rang. Geo had the exam. I wouldn't say it was easy, but I finished it too early like usual. I was the first one to finish. I was still looking around people. People were still doing it. There was still 30 minutes to the bell. All I did was go over the questions, not even changing a single answer. Bushwalking was good. Followed the map this time. We didn't go to the beach because it was cloudy. So we went to Oatley Park. Went like a loop like usual. Tiring as always. Long walks with a few stops. For instance, Patrick E, Christian B, and George H was ahead and stopped at the bridge until I came with a small stick. I found, and then saw what was going on. They said it was like a huge lizard, and all I did was like walk through the bridge so calmly, and I thought they actually meant like a big lizard, the size of the size of an average human, but it was only like 12 inches long. It's like one ruler. When we got near the end of the route, the Lords led the way. That's one person, Lords, but I don't know how to pronounce. Okay, it's probably Lord. We eventually made it back to the river, sat down and rested. Later on, all the U10 boys except me swam in the river, where it was so muddy, cold, and salty. We went ahead, waited the bus, realizing they took so long. So, sir sent a few girls to tell them off. They came back with the boys still a bit wet from the shower, from the swim in the river. On our way back to school, Patrick E said he forgot his phone at the park. We did a Yui, came back, and Patrick said, and the whole squad found nothing. Nevertheless, Patrick found his phone in his bag, and everyone's so pissed off. Even so said that he should be in sports detention next week as a joke. Finally, we arrived at school, had to catch the train. We finished 1 hour earlier. It was 3:30 p.m. instead of 4:30 p.m. Came home, got dressed, drank water, saw my little brother sleeping tight in my bed, told him to sleep properly instead of sideways. I lied down and was on my Mac reading the news. Felt felt sleepy, told my friend online I was going to sleep. As a heads up, fell asleep, woke up, it was still 10 p.m. Ate Aljana chicken with rice and salad for dinner, and then did my homework and fell asleep again. Friday, 27th of February 2015. I first had double science. We defined precipitation and valency for the title. Is precipitation just rain? Next, we worked on the table on valency with ions, symbols, and charge of ions, or valency. Continued with cutting and pasting ions to form various compounds and write them down on a table again with the name of the compound, chemical formula, and the model. Then we did the experiment with silver and lead nitrate to see if they precipitate on potassium nitrate, chloride. This is potassium nitrate, chloride, iodide, sulphate, and carbonate. Even though none of us in our group got time to write the method, we still got it right despite the correct drops of silver and lead nitrate. After that, I had English. We were still watching Tomorrow When the War Began movie. A very dramatic, but had a few laughs. But at the end of the lesson, as the bell rang, Callum pushed James and Manu. Even though it was dark, you could still see everybody because the light being emitted by the screen. So yeah, they got demerits, of course, having to stay a few minutes behind to get demerits from Sir in English. So I just moved on to music. Sir told us what we had to do. We had to create a presentation about some genre of jazz, which was we also have to sing or play an instrument or just perform in general at the end of the term. Anyways, me and Chibwa moved into one of the rooms. It was dark, and we saw Manu watching the Red Sandstorm in the music video with his speakers because he never saw it. Later on, a teacher came and wanted to speak with Jimwell for a while. When Jim left, so our music teacher came in and had a chat about the music of Manu and his future life. And then all was good. All was good. Nothing negative. Then Sir left, and the bell rang. A few minutes later, Manu left the building. I was still in the room trying to complete the presentation so far, but Sir came in and I left. And Jim just finished talking with Miss. Turns out he has learning support, so he can get help with assignments if he needed to. When the lunch bell had finished, it was period 5. My class were all waiting outside at the 11, and they were all loud until Sir came. We came in, so it's like, who's ready to present? And no one was ready to present. So we continued with our groups. About 15 to 20 minutes later, Jessica and Catherine were supposed to present, but there was technical difficulties. So Lisa, Nicholas, and Irene presented theirs, even though it wasn't even finished. I think Sir was pissed off at most of us because like shouting and hating on Sir. And all I did was like write notes as he instructed. It didn't really care if it was good or bad, you know. Finally, it was last period. Worked on more trigonometry on the worksheet with real life scenarios. There was no homework, and the new sheet at the end of the lesson she gave us was not homework. Instead, it was to study for the upcoming informal test on Friday. At the end, I went to the train station, but I didn't see my younger brother anywhere until at last I made it home and knew why. I got changed, walked around the block for a while, and just fell asleep in my brother's room.